Okay, this is problem number 4 for benchmark A.3.9, which is about slope and intercepts. The design of a wheelchair ramp for a new high school must meet the slope requirement that is specified in the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, of 1990. The relationship between the height of the ramp, y, and the length of the ramp, x, is modeled by the equation below, 6x minus 72y equals 0. The question asks, what is the slope of the equation? So let's look at our slope here for number 4. The equation that we're given, 6x minus 72y equals 0, that is in standard form. You know from class and from previous videos that standard form is ax plus by equals c. Because our equation is given in this form, 6x minus 72y equals 0, we know that the coefficient on x, which is a, is 6, b, negative 72, and the constant out here is 0. Now it's very hard to tell the slope from standard form. The easiest form that we have to work with is slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So to go from standard to slope-intercept form, that's what we want to do. And if you notice, in slope-intercept form, we have isolated the variable y. So in order to do that going from standard form, we have to get y by itself. Well, there's the 6x, there's also the negative 72. So first we are going to subtract 6x on both sides of the equal sign. We do that because it cancels out. So now we are left with negative 72 times y equals, now 0 minus 6x, that just equals negative 6x. Now, again, we are trying to isolate y because we want to get it into slope-intercept form. So we are going to divide it by the coefficient in front of y, which is negative 72. We're going to divide negative 72 on both sides. So we get y equals, and let's see if we can simplify this. Well, we know that a negative divided by a negative is a positive, so our answer is going to be positive. And what's the greatest common factor of these two numbers? Well, let's think about it. 6 goes into 6 one time. Can 6 go into 72? Yep, 6 can go into 72 12 times. So the simplified version, 6 over into 72 equals 1 over 12. So our equation in slope-intercept form is y equals 1 over 12x. Now if you notice from slope-intercept form, you're probably asking, well, what about this plus b, this y-intercept that's out here? Well, because we don't have a number out here, the y-intercept is 0. We could put plus 0, or we could just leave it blank, and leaving it blank indicates that the y-intercept is 0. So the slope of the line is the coefficient in front of x, which is your m term. So in this case, the slope equals 1 over 12. Now let's think about that in the context of that problem. What does this mean? Well, think about a wheelchair ramp. Y, the change in y, is the height of the ramp, as we know here. The height of the ramp is y, and the length of the ramp is x. What this means is that for every 1 foot you want to go up for the wheelchair ramp, let's say you want the wheelchair ramp to be this high. If you want it to be 1 foot high, it has to be at least 12 feet long. If you want it to be 2 feet high, it has to be at least 24 feet long. Again, because the slope has to be at least 1 over 12. Now think about if the slope was like 1 over 4. If the slope was 1 over 4, that means for every 1 foot, the wheelchair ramp would only have to be 4 feet. If that was the case, that would be a pretty steep ramp, which would be pretty dangerous for anyone using a wheelchair. That's why the Americans with Disabilities Act was enacted in 1990 to set requirements for the steepness of a wheelchair ramp to keep those using a wheelchair safe as they enter buildings, schools, offices, etc., etc.